Hello everyone, my name is SeaTactics for the win, otherwise known as Ben, and we are here to talk about our general first impressions of Kanata no Astra. I have a special guest, my Fruits Basket co-host, Symphogear, I'm a special guest on the Symphogear podcast, and many other things we've done in the past. Introduce yourself.
Hello, people who do not know who I am. I'm RisingSunReviews. I quite enjoy anime where cute girls do awesome things like exploding things or traveling in space, which is what we have here.
Traveling in space is fun. I agree. I think we can mostly agree that traveling in space is fun. I agree. Did I say
Yes.
I agree enough?
So we're going to go do that tomorrow, so...
Yes, as we should. You may notice a graphic on here that's from King of Anime. It's because I just copied and pasted some stuff from anime, and it's good information to have. Anyways, so
Yes, best information.
yes. So let's talk about Kanata no Astra, aka Astra Lost in Space. What were your expectations going into this anime?
Well, this is a weird case for me because I actually read the manga when it first came out for a few chapters. So I sort of knew what was going to happen. I knew I'd be interested. But I was just really impressed by what I got here. I thought to me, okay, this might be pretty good, but it turns out this is easily my favorite new show of the season.
Yeah, the first episode was also 45 minutes long, and usually you get these kinds of anime, and they're this long, and they don't really need to be that long. I felt this did, especially in its first episode, felt like it did a good enough job setting it up, and as far as my expectations, I expected something good, and what I got was some pretty solid stuff, I think.
Yeah, in the first episode, a lot of them, they feel like really long and drawn out because they have to like do a lot of build-up to get where they need to go. This did not feel like it was a double-length episode. It was like it was moving quick enough that I was never bored.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed the first episode. I actually enjoyed the first episode more than the most recent episode at the time of this recording, which is episode 2. I just thought the first episode, it set it up really well, in my opinion, on where the story is going forward in terms of general plot. I think in terms of characters, it's definitely one of those where I think it basically told the viewer, like, hey, if you want stuff on the characters, you're going to have to continue watching this. You're not going to get stuff like that in this episode. And
Yeah, that first
cool.
episode was like, it was like set up, it's like introduced the characters, gave it a basic template for the story, and then the rest of the season will be like fleshing out that template.
Right, yeah. It's very unique, and it's something that honestly, it's probably because it's the most recent example. So it's not, I'm not going to compare it to this, just based off because it's as good as it or it's worse than it. And that's Fruits Basket. Fruits Basket has a big cast. And this also has a big cast, and they both kind of start similar ways with a big cast that you don't know too much about, and as the episodes go on, they flesh them out more and more. Now, this show to me is just simply not as good as Fruits Basket, but I like that general kind of approach of like, hey, here's a bunch of characters. Every episode we're kind of going to focus on maybe one or two, or maybe a group of them, and flesh them out while also fleshing out a nice basic story arc to string you along as a viewer.
Yeah, and I feel like the type of show it is, it's like the characters at first glance seem like they're stereotypical, but I don't think that's bad. That way we can quickly understand, okay, I've seen your archetype before, I know what to like starting to know you, and then they can like break that down, get more into it like they did in episode 2.
Right. For example, just bringing up a character, Kanata, his teacher died. Like, we know about that, and because of he was there to see his teacher die, and it left an imprint on him, and because of that, his dream is to live out his teacher's dream rather than his father's dream, which forced. He's a decathlete. I don't know how you pronounce that or say that. But
Yeah, decathlete I think is correct. That's what the subtitle said.
yeah, he's an athlete of multiple things, and his father that was his father's dream, but he got injured, and I quite like that about Kanata. I think that makes him by episode 2, that fleshes him out quite well. I think we kind of know who Kanata is. He's a guy who thinks for himself and acts for himself, and he wants to. He's very loyal and wants to make something of himself.
Oh, the character he reminds me a lot of after those 2 episodes?
Who's that?
Shiro from Fate's Stay Night. Just because he's like has an inherited dream, he's like really dedicated. He will do whatever it takes to like save people, even putting himself at risk.
Right.
So I think it'll be interesting. Like he's basically done some idiotic things so far. So I think at some point that's going to like come around to hurt him. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, he's in every episode he's done something stupid. He's gone after a criminal in the first episode when usually, typically you don't go fight a criminal, right? That's usually a very dangerous thing to do.
Unless you're a shonen protagonist.
Oh yeah, unless you're a shonen protag. And then the second episode, he makes a ridiculous jump, which, given his past, makes sense. But initially, you're like, it's still kind of like a risky, dumb thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, there's definitely some interesting like symbolism there with how he's like using a dream that he's run away from, but the power he got from that to pursue his new dream. So I think that'll be interesting too.
Yeah. Let's talk about Ares, who is, she's a dumpling.
I feel like that's about all we need to say about her. Like, she is as sweet as a dumpling is delicious.
Once again, I compared her to Toru, and there are endless amounts of characters like Toru, like Ares. So it's more of a recency bias kind of thing. The most recent example I can think of. So they're not, and once again, she's not on the same level of Toru, but she has that same kind of that innocence.
She has the same charm. Another character she's like is Chitanda from Hyoka.
I didn't even think about that. Chitanda, though, I would say Chitanda and Ares they have outgoing. They're kind of like the same, but as characters, as people, I feel they're a little different. But that's actually also another good example. One of the things somebody asks her, what's your personality? And she's like, people say I can't read. And that right there, that shows to me. Also, there's another example of she has frozen tangerines or oranges or something like that.
Oh yeah, that she just gave to Kanata for some reason.
Yeah, she's like, you want to have some frozen tangerines? And he was like, how old are you?
Yeah, like, are you my grandma?
And I like that. It was small things like that. This show is really good at establishing. We establish in the first 2 episodes, but not much in the second episode. The second episode barely touched Ares. It was mostly Kiriri and Phoenicia. But we know from the first episode that she has an innocence about her. She has frozen tangerines.
Yeah, and I feel like they did that. They did enough to like flesh out in the first episode that they can kind of put her to the side to like explore the other characters.
Yeah. As an overall like talking point on the characters, I like pretty much every one of them. I'm indifferent on a couple. Yunua, who is the kind of the depressing looking girl with the hair over her face. Take it or leave it.
There's no character that I dislike. The ones I don't like, I just don't know enough to like them yet.
And I also feel like a lot of these character designs, while they're very good, I like every single one of them. I feel you can also take a bit of character design from other anime and compare them both in character and character design. And I think that's kind of fascinating. I'm not sure what you think about that.
The blonde guy reminds me of the guy with the belly button laser in My Hero Academia, just like the character design, and like it can see a bit of personality in common too.
Mm-hmm. The characters in general in this anime, it seems like it's going to be one of those things where just as the series goes along, we're going to get more and more episodes dedicated to him, and I'm pretty cool with that. Episode 2, though, what did you think about episode 2? Because I thought episode 2 was somewhat clunky. Probably it's the worst episode, and I wouldn't be surprised by episode 3 if episode 3 is even better than episode 2.
Yeah, I feel like it was like getting into a different like mood or like different routine for an episode, because now they're showing like the different planets that they go to, what they find there, the dangers that they see, and it's like they're trying to drive that plot forward while also the greater mystery of like what happened to them, what, and then the black ball of energy shows up. They discover a sabotage maybe. So there's a lot that this episode was trying to do.
Yeah. Also, I think the reason I think this episode is generally kind of clunky and a little kind of falls over itself a little bit is because it tries to do a lot of things, but also in the first part of this episode, it shows kind of on display some comedy that I think is a little outdated. It's not terrible. Like, it's like I laughed at some of the things. Generally speaking, it's harmless, but it's I don't know. The comedy in episode 2 didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel on point.
I think it also is like, how serious should this show as a whole be?
Right.
Like a lot of shows like this, comedy, okay, it's a good break from the serious part, but at the same time, they're in a lot of danger and they don't know if they'll be able to get home. Yeah. So does that fit the type of show it is, or do they want it to be a somewhat lighthearted adventure?
We've established in the first episode this is not a super dark anime, but a mildly serious one with a somewhat serious plot. But in the beginning of the second episode, it feels like the anime just went back to not establishing the plot. It felt, I don't know. I guess that's why I have trouble with it. That being said, the rest of episode 2 is pretty good. The focus on Kitori and Funishiya, and Kitori, how she was grown up as kind of alone, isolated from her parents, and she was very much raised by the people who worked at the mansion that she lived in. And then her parents brought home Funishiya, who is an orphan, which is funny because they both look exactly the same. But and she didn't like that because she wasn't getting the attention that she wanted, that she needed, and Funishiya was.
Yeah, just like the resentment. But then I also liked it at the end where you saw that Kitori actually does care about Funishi, or how you pronounce the names.
Yeah, after that, after she got endangered by the Turgan, which that's a funny name. Yeah, Kitori was, she actually cares about Funishiya. It's just one of those things where you're right. It's a little bit of resentment, a little bit of, like, it should have been me kind of thing. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty interesting. It was a nice little story. I think we could have kept that tone though throughout the whole thing, and I think it would have been way better.
And I feel like there's enough time for them to have done it that way.
Yeah.
And I also liked how they were able to like show the story of the character's backstory and then tie that into the exploring the planet too.
Mm-hmm. I think the strengths of this whole series is going to be the setting of each episode, and the drama that goes on with each of these characters and how they kind of how they develop. I think that's going to be the main driving point for this show. And I think if they do it decently, like, they don't even have to do it really well, honestly. If they do it decently, I'm totally fine with that. Like, I'm not expecting something that's I don't know, game changing with this. I think what this show needs is just I don't want to say a lighthearted kind of romp, but just something fun, something that is very much, it's like what is that anime where Matt Damon is trapped on Mars? It's not scientifically accurate, but it's a fun movie.
Right, and it's like this is the case where the science is very much hand-waved, but that's never bothered me because they don't like take that part of the show seriously.
Right, they never established that this is a very sciencey show. They will talk about it sometimes to make a topic or plot point more deep, to flesh it out more. For example, the wormhole thing. why does it keep appearing and attacking everyone? What's the point?
Yeah, well, I was thinking more like how the ship is like faster than light and has all the technologies. Like, technically, from a scientific perspective, that doesn't make much sense. But they just hand wave it, and it doesn't really affect the story as a whole. So
yeah, then that's I mean, the ship kind of breaks some things.
it breaks the laws of physics, but that's no big deal.
Yeah, not an anime where you have characters like Ares and Kanata. But speaking of the ship, it seems for now what we're going to be focusing on the next couple of episodes in Kanata no Astra is who damaged the ship communicator, and that's something I'm on the fence about if I really want or not of these characters not getting along and then whining about something, and like the reason the communicator has to be damaged to me has to be a good reason. If it's not a good reason, might as well throw it out. Baby with the bathwater. I don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't feel needed, but I have like two theories regarding it.
It's Charse.
Well, my first theory...
He wants to play with the bugs.
My first theory is that it's like a certain other show that we watched, and Zach is actually the one who tampered with it. Because he seems smart enough that he could do that. He might be thinking of stuff, and he's basically been the one in control of ships, so it'd be easy for him to do.
I feel like Yunwa's going to be blamed. I feel like that's where we're headed. We're heading in a direction where Yunwa's going to be blamed, or it's going to be the emo guy. The people that haven't had any character development yet. I think this is going to be an excuse to get these characters in the plot, to get them talking, to get them developing a little bit. I don't think it's going to be... If it's gonna happen, it's gotta make sense, and I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, and my other idea is that whoever sent them there is also the ones who disabled it because they happened to send them right near the ship. So,
yeah.
So maybe there's like something like big political plot that they sent these students here to like trigger something, and if they had the communication, then that would make things too easy. So they did this, so they'll be forced to do what they're doing.
Right. We got. Was this a random accident or not? Because I mean, this wormhole is chasing them. Is the wormhole man-made or not?
And if it's flung at 5,000 light years, and they just happen to be super close to a spaceship, like what are the odds of that?
Yeah, it immediately made me think that other people went into space camp, and they came out, and they got swallowed by that wormhole, and then just sit into space. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Overall, what are your thoughts on this show? In my opinion, I think it's looking somewhat promising. It's a little clunky. It's a little rough around the edges. I'm okay with that, though. I don't think I expected ever at any point this show to be a 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. I just want a decent, nice show.
Yeah, it's definitely exceeds my expectations, which were not all that high, but I expected to like it. And if I keep enjoying it as much as I enjoyed the first two episodes, it will be one of my favorite of the year.
All right. Where can they find you?
They can find me on YouTube at RisingSunReviews, where we have a Symphogear podcast where we talk about Symphogear and other things, and why do I have a message on Discord. They can find me on Twitter, where I post things sometimes, and they can find me on Amino, where I post short stories about Astra Lost in Space for one, and I have a video about Railgun going up there soon.
You can. Yeah, yes. Hi. Words. Bye.